to Thought of the Week. This video I'm going to talk about Thundercats Roar. Uh, I should say, as a fair warning, I did not grow up with Thundercats. I was born in 1990. I started watching TV in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, and onward. But I did catch reruns of the 80s Thundercats, and I never really hooked. I never got hooked in that series. I didn't like the character designs, didn't like the animation, etc. But seeing Thundercats Roar and seeing their reaction to it, I do agree that Thundercats Roar is kind of a shitty show in terms of animation and style. But I think there's a lot of issues with Thundercats Roar than just that. Uh, a lot of people compare it to Teen Titans Go, in the terms that a lot of people love Teen Titans. I like Teen Titans myself as well. I like the animation, like the story, like the characters, like all of that. And then when they announced Teen Titans Go, it was very disappointing because it was something that show wasn't. And Thundercats Roar kind of shared that same criticism. Teen Titans Go and Teen Titans. Teen Titans was an action adventure type story. It was based on a comic book, and it had a very interesting style to it that was that was eye catching. It was like, oh, this style looks very unique and personal and stylized. While Teen Titans Go just kind of looks like simple flash animation that is on par with what we've been seeing from Cartoon Network lately. But Teen Titans was a very unique story, and Teen Titans Go kind of betrayed what a lot of people wanted from it. And to me personally, I at least respected Teen Titans Go to a point. I did think some of the jokes that Teen Titans Go made were funny. I liked the episode where they were making jokes about VHS tapes. I was like, well, that's actually kind of funny because I can relate to that. Because eventually, we're gonna start seeing people say, "What the hell is a VHS?" And I thought that was kind of funny. But what really made me stop respecting Teen Titans Go, and this is something that I fear Thundercats Roar is going to go down the same path, is that Teen Titans Go started making jokes about it not being like the originals, people not liking it, and that kind of shit. And that is kind of where I stopped respecting Teen Titans Go, or even giving any credit to it, because if you're gonna make a show, no matter what it is, at least own it and stand by it and kind of make better, make the show better for what it is. Making jokes about people hating you and that kind of stuff is just gonna be funny for like maybe one or two episodes, and then it's gonna get annoying. And Teen Titans Go it keeps doing it, and it's kind of sad to this point where it's just like this show should just be canceled at this point. If you're not gonna stand by it and you're not going to own it and you're just gonna keep making fun of yourself, it's like then just end it. Because there's nothing worse than a show that is not only a taking a another established property and forcing it to be something it's not. That's one thing, but it's another to just kind of constantly make jokes about why people don't like you. It's like, it's just sad, and it's kind of pathetic at this point. It's just kind of like, do something else. Do something else with your life. If you're just gonna be making shows that are just kind of that come off that way, it just seems miserable to me. It's like why would I want to work on a show that makes fun of itself and kind of self hates itself? Why would I want to work on a show like that? It just doesn't sound fun or even exciting. Animation is a career that's supposed to be fun, and you're supposed to be excited to work on. Why go to a show and work at a place where it's like, oh, we're gonna make a joke that we're not like the other show, and it's gonna be funny. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I feel like Thundercats Roar might go down that path, especially judging with how some of the crew reacted to the negative responses, but a lot of the negativity has been coming out of other people in the animation hemisphere. A lot of the people who are in that kind of style of animation, a lot of people have been kind of antagonizing and just kind of toxic towards fans that were not happy with Thundercats Roar. Now, if the argument would be, or if the argument was this is for a different audience and it's not for you, or that other people are gonna enjoy it, that's fine. I'm sure people are gonna like Thundercats Roar. I mean, there are people who like Teen Titans Go, sure, but I think shitting on fans of Thundercats Roar is kind of a petty move. A lot of people bring up the 2011 reboot of Thundercats, saying that this was the best one, and it keeps getting met with, well, if you like it so much, why didn't you watch it? Because it got canceled due to poor support and low ratings, etc. Uh, but what is kind of ignored with that is the network kind of did not give that show a chance. They did greenlight a second season, but the network later rescinded that, and the network just kind of misplayed around with the time slots that drove ratings down. And I feel that that's in response to the toys not selling. So I just think that the network intentionally was trying to set the show up to fail so that they could at least write off the loss. Because I know that there's something weird with taxes in terms of animation and networking, where TV networks can write a show or movie off uh, in their taxes as long as it's a failure. So they probably wanted to classify the 2011 Thundercats show as a failure to make up the lost revenue of the toys. But who knows? I can't say for sure. But messing around with the time slot does lead to the show getting low ratings. A lot of shows have been fucked with in that similar way. If you look at Legend of Korra, Nickelodeon messed around with that time slot to the point where they had to move it to an online platform because the ratings were so low. Because they kept putting into weird slots that just didn't make sense. But okay. Uh, Futurama had that same issue. Green Lantern had a similar issue with their toy sales being abysmal, so they canceled that show immediately. Uh, so it's not really fair to blame the fans for why Thundercats in 2011 did not succeed. The network kind of did not have any confidence in that. But I think the other issue that a lot of people had with Thundercats Roar that to me is the tipping point. That was really what kind of brought it over the edge is that Cartoon Network has a lot of comedy animations. A lot of these goofy shows with simplistic animation, like the Magical World of Gumball, even though some of the animation kind of branches in a lot of the spectrums of animation. You have Steven Universe. You have they had regular show for a while, Adventure Time, etc. They're having all of these goofy comic shows with a very simplistic style. Now, a lot of people termed this style the Cal Art style, and even then, I think that's inaccurate because there are artists from Cal Arts that have made better shows and better artwork and better animations. Just look at Indivisible and Skullgirls, for example. Those are done by people who are from Cal Arts, and those styles are very, very different than what you see on Cartoon Network. The real culprit is honestly the network. I don't think it's Cal Arts. I don't think Cal Arts is behind this, or the SJWs or anything like that. I just think it's the network. Because the style that Thundercats Roar is doing is probably cost efficient. If you have a show like the 2011 Thundercats or a show that has a lot of detail in it, it probably costs the network a lot of money to support that kind of animation. So you could see that it's in the network's best interest to go for a cheaper alternative, which is these cheaply made uh, comedy shows. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with the crew. I think a lot of people who are shitting on the crew and the staff is a little much, but I do think it's a lot of a response to what is succeeding on the platform. Because also remember, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and all these other networks operate with trends. For a while, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon tried to push live action shows. They tried to push them a lot, and then they started going back to cartoons. And the most notable cartoons that a lot of people steered towards was Adventure Time, regular show, these goofy shows. And that's kind of what Cartoon Network's been focusing on because they know that those succeed and that they're cheaply made and they know it's a sure thing. And I think that's really why they made Thundercats Roar, just to have another comedy show to balance with Teen Titans Go. Because if you look at the lineup that Cartoon Network has done for a while, it's just been a lot of Teen Titans Go. It's just been ridiculous. So I think they just want Thundercats Roar to be another show to kind of balance with that. Uh, and I don't think it's necessarily great. I think it's a style that's gonna eventually burst, and we're gonna finally see the networks trying to push other shows. Because again, that's what happens with a lot of these eras that these networks push. I mean, even when Last Airbender was on TV, a lot of networks wanted a series that was like that. They wanted a series that had unique animation that was inspired by Japanese anime, etc. And they try to push all these shows, and that's what a lot of people loved. Uh, Now it's the new thing is these comedy shows, but a lot of people kind of also want to say that animation is dying. It's gonna become nothing but this, and this is a terrible time to be alive. I kind of slightly disagree with that because there are cartoons and animations in Western society and Western culture that is at least different and has variety. BoJack Horseman, Voltron, Anomalisa, the Isle of Dogs, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, um, etc. There's a lot of shows that have a very unique style to it, uh, but a lot of these networks gravitate towards Teen Titans Go because it's easier to sell. It's they know that these are going to succeed on TV. Why invest in a show that might cost a lot of money and might flop? And I do kind of see why networks do that, but I think networks should start taking more risks again, even though it might not be financially feasible for them. But they can at least take a risk with one show or so. Just trying to put that out there. And I think that's kind of the issue with Thundercats Roar. I just think it's a style that people are just burnt out on. I don't, Thundercats Roar has a lot of issues with it. A lot of people felt betrayed and that this isn't the show that they want. Because the other thing that is very important to remember is Thundercats Roar, like Teen Titans, was an action adventure genre. It wasn't a comedy show. It wasn't goofy. It had comedy in it. It had lighthearted moments, but that was to balance the drama and the action of those shows. It was just there to as a side thing. It wasn't like the central focus. You would not classify Thundercats as a comedy. And a lot of people kind of default to the 80s version, like, oh, well, see, the 80s version is dated and campy and this and that, but you can make something that's campy and make it something that's serious. Like, even look at Batman. Batman was in the Silver Age for a while. The animated series of Batman kind of took Batman back to being gritty, and like look at Mr. Freeze or Doctor Freeze. I am butchering the names. I'm sorry, but that was a character that used to be campy and goofy, and that villain was just kind of not supposed to be serious. But the animated series made him a more serious character, and that's kind of why we see Doctor Freeze or Mr. Freeze being portrayed in a more serious light now because people liked the seriousness of that villain from the animated series. So I wouldn't necessarily blame a lot of people wanting something more serious anymore. That they want something serious again because uh, Thundercats could be that series. It's just that in the '80s it was to sell toys, but it had an interesting story. There was stuff in that universe that could lend itself to many things. I'm not necessarily gonna shit on the showrunners and the crew of Thundercats Roar. I don't really think they deserve to be shit on, but they want to make a show that they want to make, and I do respect that to a degree. But the response that they're getting is natural because you're taking a show that a lot of people see as an adventure action show, and you're kind of putting it into a genre that it really isn't. Um, I would also look at Mickey Mouse. I've seen someone trying to make the argument, well, I wonder if the 1940s kids got annoyed that Mickey Mouse was different later on in Fantasia and this and that. And it's like, I don't think they cared because they saw that as a extension or an advancement of that style. And it's also important to remember that Mickey Mouse is a comedy, goofy genre in of itself. The Mickey Mouse cartoons are not a serious cartoon. They're very lighthearted and and they have a lot of slapstick humor in it. So, in that regard, Mickey Mouse does have the flexibility to change styles uh, to a point. Now if you take Mickey Mouse and try to make it into a serious uh, cartoon, it might not work very well. It may not work at all. But uh, you know, a lot of people did not like the 2013 reboot of Mickey Mouse. They didn't like that version of him. But at least the 2013 version of Mickey Mouse kind of stayed in line with what Mickey Mouse was. It might not have been a style that people liked, but it at least tried to make an homage to classic Mickey Mouse cartoons by just looking at the visual style, having the ovalish eyes with the little brackets or little, I think it's brackets in the eyes or whatever. They have that same style from from the 1920s type of cartoons or the 40s, etc. It had that homage to it. So, it kind of made sense for it. And a lot of people are making this meme with with the Thundercats roar style with other cartoons like Ed, Ed and Eddie and this and that. But I would also argue that Ed and Eddie is a goofy cartoon as well. I think you could change the Ed and Eddie style to a point, and as long as it's recognizable as the property, and I think that would be fine. It's just that I think we're getting tired of seeing comedy shows because those styles are starting to blend together. They do have some difference to it, but the differences are starting to become minor because we're seeing a lot of it. And I think that's what a lot of people are reacting to. Steven Universe has a very distinct style to it. It has a different the backgrounds are nice. The hair designs are designed in a certain way, but that show was designed that way. The show was written and designed the way that it's supposed to be, while in Thundercats Roar, Thundercats was not designed that way. And you're kind of forcing Thundercats to be in a genre and a style that it really never was. Uh, you know? Well, I think that's it for this video. Let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on the Thundercats Roar reboot? Are you going to give it a chance? Are you going to say, fuck it, down with modern animation? Let me know in the comment section below. I am kind of not interested in Thundercats Roar, personally. I just am tired as well with these comedy shows. I'm just going to stick with what I like right now. So, thank you for watching. Uh, See you in the next video.